So I don't know about you, but I love IKEA. I go into the store, it's wonderful. I just start imagining how I will organize my house and get all these things and get, these relatively inexpensive Swedish uber modern furnishing into my house. And from time to time I succumb to the IKEA temptation and I buy something. And one of the first things I bought was a toy chest for all the toys that are laying around our living room. So I got these boxes, I got home, I was all excited, I got the tools, and then I started playing with the instructions and trying to assemble it. And as you can see, I don't exactly have two right hands. This is not where I shine in terms of my skills, and it was kind of frustrating. It took me a long time. The instructions from my perspective were not very clear. Every time I had to guess something, I guessed it wrong, and then I discovered it 2 steps later. And even though I tried not to get upset and tried to look at it like a puzzle, I couldn't. And it was really kind of an annoying process. But even though it was an annoying, difficult process, by the time I finished it, I kind of fell in love with this toy chest. And I moved twice since then. I carry it with me every time. And it's not the highest quality furniture, it's not particularly attractive, but I think that the fact that I created it with my sweat and agony over a period that was longer than I expected actually contributes something to my love to this particular IKEA furniture. So we tried to test it out. We basically got people to build origami. We got people to fold origami into different shapes. And we asked whether people who build origami think that their origami is more beautiful than other people's origamis. And the answer is yes. Are they willing to pay more for it? The answer is yes. So it turns out that once you build something, you over-attribute value to it. And then we asked, do we understand that we over-attribute value? So imagine you build an origami and you ask me, how would somebody else bid for this origami? Do I understand that this origami is beautiful in my eyes, but it would not be as beautiful in somebody else's eyes? And it turns out we don't. We think it's beautiful in our eyes and we think everybody will see it in the same way that we do. I think it's the same thing with kids. They're much more work than origami or IKEA furniture. And when we have our kids, we think that they are wonderful and exciting. And when we ask, do other people see them in the same eyes that we do? We usually think this is the case, right? You can't imagine that your kids are dancing or doing something in the park and other people are not just completely enamored by your kids. They don't want you to spend all the time looking at that. Imagine this, I'm not really proposing this, but think about this as a hypothetical experiment. Imagine you have kids and I ask you, would you sell your kids? Or would you give up all the memories and thoughts and association with your kids if you could just erase your brain and take your kids away? And most people said, not for a lot of money, not for all the gold in China, whatever the expression is. But imagine then I said, what about something else? Imagine you don't have kids and you go to a park and you meet these kids and you play with them for 4 or 5 hours and you learn everything there is to learn about them, and they're very similar to the kids you have, basically identical. And when it's time to go, you say goodbye, and the parent of these kids said, hey, before you go, by the way, they're for sale. Are you interested? How much money would you pay for them now? And now people have to admit that the value of our kids is really because they're our kids. It's because the joint process that we've gone together, and it's not the actual kid. This, of course, is kind of a strange thought, and I'm not really proposing that we do anything with our kids. But I think the principle in which we get attached to the things that we create, while less extreme, actually applies to lots and lots of stuff in the world. And because of it, there's actually a very interesting question, which is, do we allocate our time correctly? If you understand that you will enjoy furniture more if you assemble it than if somebody else assembles it, that you will enjoy your house more if you paint it than if somebody else paints it, you will enjoy your garden more if you garden than if somebody else garden, you will enjoy your food more if you make it than other people make it, do we actually allocate our time correctly? Because much of the time when we ask people, they prefer to have other people do it for them. Because I think people don't understand, don't intuit this attachment process, that while working on something, even if it's hard, complex, and difficult, we would fall in love with what we create and actually have a good opportunity to create more surplus and more utility and more happiness from it.